You sitting across from me.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to the Village of Westmont Committee of the Whole meeting for September 16th, 2010. I'd like to ask our clerk to please take the roll call.
Mayor Ron.
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Emery.
Here.
Trustee Fleming.
Here.
Trustee Forsley.
Here.
Trustee Klebanow.
Here.
Trustee Scott is absent tonight. Trustee Seneca.
Here.
Manager Searle.
Here.
Attorney Perez.
Here.
Public Works Director May.
Here.
Police Chief Mulhern.
Here.
Economic Development Director and Assistant Manager Kimball.
Here.
Fire Chief Trout.
Here.
Budget Analyst Parker.
Okay. Thank you. Please join us in Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on the agenda are the minutes of the committee, the whole meeting held September 2nd and board meeting held September. Committee, the whole meeting September 2nd and board meeting September 7th, 2010. Any corrections to be reported to the clerk at this time? Okay. Open forum. We do not have any open forum requests before us this evening. Reports. The only thing I would like to mention is that I was just informed by Ron Searle, our village manager, that our police chief, Tom Mulhern, attended a meeting yesterday down in Peoria. It was an award ceremony for the Illinois Healthcare Associations. And our Westmont Citizens Police Academy was selected amongst 75 different nominees to receive the Illinois Healthcare Association's Group Volunteer of the Year Award. And that is an award that comes not only because of Tom's hard work, but everyone knows Dawn King, and most everyone knows Greg Pankey, but they put in many, many hours of volunteer work for the village, so they're the ones that I'm sure did all the grunt work to make sure this award was granted. And our congratulations to them, and we understand that Dawn is going to be here, and maybe Greg also, on Monday.
Monday, and the owner of the Westmont Nursing Rehabilitation Center, that's the most of the event took place, will be here as well. So they have the award to them on Monday.
Okay, good. So they will be here for that award presentation on Monday. Thank you, Tom. That is the only thing that I have at this moment. Moving right along, our village clerk.
Just congratulations to the police group. I mean, they are outstanding. What a bunch of volunteers. So, and to Michelle Forsley, who got the gold medal in golf, and her dad can talk about that when he's on. That's all I have.
Okay. Next, our village attorney.
I don't have a report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Searle, village manager.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Passed out a supplemental purchase order list with one purchase order on it to the Westmont Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $20,000, which is the first installment of the budgeted contribution that we have for this year, this fiscal year. And would like to put that on the agenda for Monday. Would also like an executive session, talk about personnel. And finally wanted to report that, as the board will recall, a couple of meetings ago, you authorized me to sign a letter of intent to the Emergency Telephone Systems Board regarding the radio project. And based upon the evaluation that our police and fire department did, we went ahead and we did execute that letter of intent. We have learned that most of the agencies in the county did so. And there was a meeting last week with the ETSB, and they are very encouraged in terms of moving ahead with the project. The next step is to consider an intergovernmental agreement. This was discussed actually last night at a DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference meeting, in which it was explained that the board is willing to negotiate these IGAs with each agency. So our plan is to put this on the agenda for the September 30th Committee of the Whole meeting for review and discussion. So I just want to give the board, a heads up that that's going to be on the next agenda for consideration. that is all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Trustees, I start with Trustee Klebanow.
Just a reminder to our residents that the brush pickup had started this week. So this was the north side. This weekend is the south side. And then there'll be one more pickup the second and third week of next month. So a lot of people are putting brush out way ahead of time, and they really shouldn't do it, but I wanted to make sure they realize that the brush pickup has started. So there's, after this next week for the south side, the second week in October will be the north side again, and the third week will be the south side, and that should be the end of the pickup for that. And then I presume we're still going to go on with our leaf pickup for the, what is it, usually like November?
That's part of our waste hauling
Yeah,
contract.
so that'll still be on, and I think that starts in November.
That's correct.
So this is just for the brush. So, and also I would like to congratulate the Police Academy. That was fantastic. Very proud of them. They worked very, very hard. Dawn and Greg are endless workers, and they should be proud. So, and that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Trustee Seneca.
Thank you. Of course, congratulations to Michelle Forsley, who took the gold at the Special Olympics down in Decatur. She's a phenomenal golfer. Also wanted to congratulate the Police Academy on their award. They make us very, very proud. We have great volunteers in this town. And the last thing I had, I wanted to thank Chief Trout for the 9/11 ceremony and remembrance that we had this past weekend. It was extremely well attended, probably the biggest one we've had yet. In spite of the buckets of rain coming down, we did it in the fire bay, and it was very nice, and thank you to our police department and everyone that participated in that. And that's all I have.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Fleming.
The only thing I have tonight is something that I'd kind of like to throw out on the table and see if maybe we might be able to get it put on the Monday. I know we normally don't talk about these things, but I think it's something we need to kind of bring up. Seeing how we're in discussion of possibly changing ratios on particular, or ground coverage on R4s and R5s, I'd kind of like to see if there's something we could come up with in the meantime, and in some of the heavier areas that get a lot of water, that we might be able to, I don't want to use the word moratorium, but find some way to not have anything done in those areas without a thorough review, or possibly come to the board with the idea or whatever. I think it's something that we ought to really look at. I mean, I know we normally don't do things like that on Monday, but I'd kind of like to see if we could get something going on that.
Yeah, I think we should too. I know we've talked about it informally at different board meetings, but we've never really formally put it on the agenda. And we had a rather compelling email that we all got.
Yeah.
And I think a strong case was made. I definitely agree with Lee. We need to get this on, and if we can do it Monday, let's do it.
I think the only problem is, what do we call it? Because, you know, I don't know, can't speak for the rest of you, but if something came like a regular size house at the same footprint or similar to what was there, I would like to be able to lift it. And yet there is a question whether you can lift a moratorium. So whatever our legal ends can work out, that if somebody has something that wouldn't sustain or hurt the area anyway, you know, I would like them to be able to come here, show it to us and say, this is what we're looking at. Would you be willing for us to go to planning and zoning and start the approval? Things like that. I don't want to make them think that we're just not going to build anything anymore in here. But I guess the problem is whether we can lift a moratorium. So we'll leave that up to our legal end to figure out how to name this, that we can at least ask the people, they have to come in to the board in those areas, R4,
Well,
R5, or the...
And I know we don't normally have discussion on Mondays, but I think to Lee's point, we need to like identify specific areas. We've got this lot coverage thing, you know, on the agendas now. We've been talking about it at the committee level. So we can hopefully be able to discuss some of that on Monday if everyone's in agreement.
Yeah. Thank you, Lee.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Forsley.
I'd like to congratulate the Police Academy, too, on all their efforts. And second, thank the trustees for the nice words for our daughter, Michelle. But I got to be honest with you, none of this would be possible if it weren't for the generosity of the people of Illinois with donations to Special Olympics, the police department and the torch run. We wouldn't have those opportunities without the residents that have donated so generously. And Tom Reesner, I know, who's been through our town and does the torch run, he was there, and it's nice to see some familiar faces. But again, it's through the generosity of the people in this state that we have the opportunity for our daughter. So I thank everybody for that. And then finally, the Administration and Finance Committee, we have a meeting on Monday, and we'll start at 6 o'clock right here. That's all I have.
Very good, thank you. Trustee Emery.
A couple of things tonight. Thanks and congrats to all, as stated before. We like to see good things. The other is I've gotten a number of emails and questions regarding people that have AT&T U-verse, that this month a franchise fee of $5 and some cents appeared on all their bills, and when some of them called AT&T, they were told that it's a pursuant to an agreement with the village for the finance fee, and it's being passed on to the user. So because I've gotten a number of questions about how come now all of a sudden we're seeing it, where did this come from, can we put a little blurb on the website explaining, what this pass-through is? And Ron, I'll leave it to you. You can word it a lot better than I can to explain it.
We'll put together a press release or an explanation of how that works into the state franchise.
Okay, and then,
AT&T would also do something.
yes, it'd be nice if AT&T put something in there. As you all know, our police chief, Tom Mulhern, we've had to do away with the podium because of his desire to hog podium time. So he asked me to read something for him because we don't have a podium. Can you please mention, and these are his words.
You're in trouble.
Can you?
That's the last time
What?
we're gonna.
Do you have an objection to that? Can you please mention the police department's unclaimed property auction this Saturday, September 19th at the police facility rear parking lot? That's at 500 North Cass, which is my addition. Preview of items starts at 8:45 a.m. and the auction starts at 9 a.m. We take cash or checks with proper ID. We cannot take credit cards at this time. All sales are final, no warranties, exchanges, or refunds. Please park in the library parking lot closest to the wall in the west end of the lot. Handicapped attendees are welcome to park in the PD lot. That's the police department. Thank you for limiting my podium time to as little as possible, even though we no longer have a podium. I had to go to Downers Grove Village Council on Tuesday to make up for lost time. I'm thinking of joining Toastmasters just to be able to stand up and talk. I don't know if I was supposed to add that, but the trouble is that he obviously wants more podium time because he neglected to say what unclaimed property it is, whether it's seized drugs now for sale or what. So, Tom, could you please tell us?
It was pretty smooth to get to the podium.
Yeah.
The last time I ever read a memo around here. It's the unclaimed property, bicycles, I know we saw some articles of jewelry, tools, whatever has just been unclaimed or evidence that was ordered to be not destroyed, but sold at auction. And usually we have a lot of good bikes. This year I don't know exactly what they're still doing in their inventory, so it'll be, again, starting at 8:45 is the preview in the police department garage or in the back lot, and at 9 o'clock we start. I said bicycles, I know there's some tools, usually there's CDs and stuff like that. I don't have a listing, but it's just miscellaneous property.
What's the date again, Tom, for
This Saturday, Mayor?
Saturday?
The
18th?
18th, this Saturday, at the police department parking lot. Again, if you're going to park in the library parking lot, the library is open, so we'd ask that you park in the west side of the lot.
September 9th.
And we will be there and hopefully have a good time for y'all.
So the note you gave me that said Saturday, September 19th, you needed to come up and clarify it was the 18th.
Which is really Saturday.
Yeah.
This Saturday, yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
It was
That's
just a
all
way
I
of
have.
sliding up there.
Yeah, thank you. May I go back and sit down now?
You can only do it with the mayor's permission.
I know he's going to tell me to go sit down, so.
You can either stand there and listen to what I have to say or sit down. It's immaterial, but at 1:45 in the morning, the manager, myself, and Glenn Liljeberg decided that the podium was too high for Tom, and that we couldn't see him if he happened to be sitting behind it. But it did apply to other individuals as well as yourself, Tom. And the view of the people that were sitting behind the podium, some of us just couldn't see, period. So, you know, when you were an exception. You were a little more difficult than the average person to spot back there, but we decided that at that time we were going to try to just move it out of here with no comments from anyone, but that wasn't to be, I guess.
On behalf of all those vertically challenged people like myself, we thank you.
Thank you, Tom. The manager tells me that there's one other thing that he forgot to mention
Thank
before
you.
we move on.
Yes, I was reminded that at the Public Works Committee meeting this week, there was a discussion to add to the agenda tonight the declaration of surplus, a 1999 Chevy utility pickup that the Westmont Park District has expressed an interest in purchasing from us. And I believe at that committee meeting, the board's consensus was that we could bring this up tonight and add that to the agenda for Monday. So I would ask to do that, and we'll have an ordinance prepared for Monday.
Very good. Just another example, as Ron and I were discussing this afternoon, of how the village tries to work together with the other taxing bodies in the village and providing services to all of our residents. Thank you. Now, with the board's permission, I'd like to call Steve Carr up to the podium because I can tell he's in a hurry to leave, and he would like to talk to us a little bit about the upcoming homecoming parade, District 201.
Well, thank you, everyone, village board, trustees, Mayor Ron, Chief Mulhern, Chief Trout, David Lincoln, for inviting me here this evening. This is an exciting week for us starting next week, culminating in the homecoming festivities. On Thursday, we'll have the parade through downtown starting at 6:30. We'll start gathering the troops around 5:30 over at the water tower. 6:30, we have the extensive parade for the high school, which is not too long, I hope, but 6:30 made a lot more sense in consideration of the police and fire shift changes and traffic, obviously, at 6:30 for rush hour is just a little bit more convenient that way. We know it's a disruption to the normal flow of things, but we really do appreciate it and appreciate your giving us the time to show off our students who've had a wonderful start to this school year. We've already won a football game this year, and we're hoping to get Dwight again this weekend. But football aside, it's really been a nice start to the year. We've got a very positive vibe going at the high school. We've had a lot of positive things working in the right direction, and we're really looking forward to homecoming. Our kids and our student council sponsors, Sissy Punta-Wilsick and Tom DeMay, and our students, Allison and Warren and Molly, and the whole group of student council kids have just done a wonderful job putting together a series of events going into next weekend with our parade and bonfire on Thursday, homecoming game on Friday night. I'm hoping you can all make it out for that. And then big dance on Saturday. It's going to be glow-in-the-dark night at Westmont High School, and we'll see how that looks. But it's a very exciting time, and I do appreciate it. I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me here this evening, but also for allowing us to use downtown, because we really are, we're part of the community, and we really feel that way when you share downtown with us. So my final comment is, I thought this was a bench. So I guess it's just a matter of perspective, right? Thanks again. Do you have any questions about the events this week?
Steve, just the time for Friday night's game.
Friday night's, the sophomore game's at 5:30, and we'll kick off as close to 7:15 as we can. Our sophomore team's also won a game and played very well this year, so we haven't run the clock yet. So that's good news, but it means that we're going to kick off at a normal time, and the sophomore team, as I said, has really had a nice turn too. The whole program and all of our fall sports, look for us in the news, and please, if you have a chance, coming out and see our volleyball kids. Our golf teams really, both are very strong. Our cross-country teams are historically very strong and are ranked in state. And while homecoming feels a bit like a football celebration, I think this year we And in years past, we're going to try to make it a celebration of all the kids who are participating and leading us into all of our fall activities with fall play and those kinds of things, which are just they're all elements of what that comprehensive high school experience that we have for our kids is about. So I thank you again. Any other questions? Thanks again. I appreciate it. Thanks for moving me to the front.
Thank you, Steve. Next item, 233 and 235 North Cass. Board to consider the following. A, special use permit to operate a ground floor office in the B1 Limited Business District. B, plat of subdivision to consolidate 2 parcels into 1 buildable lot. C, zoning code variance request to permit the construction of an office building which will encroach in the required front yard setback. A 0 lot line is shown where code requires a 5-foot setback. And D is a repeat of C and shouldn't be there. E, a zoning code variance request to reduce the number of required off-street parking stalls to 9. And F, site and landscaping plan approval.
Mayor, just to clarify, C is regarding a front yard setback and D is regarding a side yard setback. Same issue, they're asking for a 0 lot line where code requires 5 feet.
So we shouldn't have removed.
You shouldn't remove it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that, Mayor. The manager
Oh,
and
okay,
I
there
thought
it
that
is.
was a repeat. But Carrie was right.
Okay, so we have a front yard setback in C and a side yard setback in D. Okay, petitioner is here.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to say this is a lot more fun than the Naperville City Council meeting. My name is Mike Cody. I'm the architect working on the project. Do you need me to? I'm with Cody Design Group, the architectural firm, working with Knightsbridge Design Build, who's the builder, and the owner is Donald Burke of D.W. Burke and Associates. What we have today to present, and I'm sure you've read about it already, so I'll keep it brief, but the owner plans to construct a speculative office building. It's 3,945 square feet, planned to be a 2-unit office building, possibly retail on the site. We've worked extensively with staff to come up with what we're showing here before you. I have plans, if you want to see them. I have the site plan, but usually the colored elevation is what people want to see, so that's what I left up there. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Like I say, we've worked extensively with staff to come up with this design. We've tried to meet your comprehensive plan by pushing it all the way to the street and right up to the side yard lot lines. Try to keep it with the brick appearance, trying to blend it into the existing fabric of the street.
What's the total square footage of rental space inside?
There are 2 spaces, and they are both, sorry, I'm going to have to, they're both approximately 1,940 square feet. Okay. There is a small landlord room, if you will, where the sprinkler equipment will be housed, which is accessible from the street. So there are 3 doors that face the street. And you can see that we've concealed the door to appear just like the other doors that only accesses the landlord room. There's small spaces. The thought process is that potentially one user could take the whole space, okay, the whole building. We have had some interest from medical users, but nothing firmed up to date.
Questions from board members?
The only thing is, okay, so you are going to bring it right up to the street then, right?
That is the plan. That's but we do have to ask for that, and that's one of the things that we've negotiated. City staff actually wanted us to bring it onto the street. We had a couple of versions where we were off the street meeting the front yard setback, but we felt that more appropriately addressed your long-term plan
Because actually in the comprehensive plan, as well as the TOD, Main Street guidelines, all of those call for the buildings in the downtown district to be at a zero lot line, front and side. So, yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're gonna bring it right up to the sidewalk. It looks a lot nicer that way too, because if you do have retail space in there, you can see what may be in the windows or that too.
Exactly, I agree. And it also, it mimics what you have further down Cass. You know, it's that more appropriate street setting.
And right across the street too, there's a new
Exactly.
building built.
Fred, did you want to add
Well,
anything?
Your Honor, just that staff is in a rather unusual and uncomfortable position here in that, as Trustee Fleming has alluded to, our comprehensive plan, our TOD study that we commissioned several years ago, the Rich and Associates downtown parking study, as well as the Illinois Main Street downtown design guidelines, all stipulate and recommend strongly that this building be up on the sidewalk. There was a gentleman who has another building in the immediate area who testified before the Planning and Zoning Commission that because his building was back a few feet, he thought this one ought to be pushed back too. And staff took the position, well, it's his building that's the anomaly. We should try to make this in concert with the provisions of the comprehensive plan. That's something that as we undertake a rewrite of the comprehensive plan in the near future, we don't look for that to change. We think that downtown development is very consistent in requesting and requiring that in settings like our downtown.
Aren't several buildings on that block set back?
Yes.
Do you have any Photoshop of the two versions of, like, standing back further and looking down the block with all these buildings back 5 feet, and this proposed one on the empty lot now at the sidewalk and back at 5 feet?
We do not, trustee. It was very much the feeling of staff that it's the other 2 or 3 buildings there that are the anomaly with the rest of the downtown. So we should not match the anomaly. We should match the character of the majority, the vast majority of the downtown buildings, which is what we would continue to recommend very strongly.
And there's also a request to limit off-street parking to 9 spaces. What does code require?
I believe that was in the write-up there. I don't recall the total number, but.
The total number was
14.
14.
Because 2 offices, especially if you get a medical office, those 9 spaces are going to be gone with personnel, probably 6 of them right off the bat, on one side. So I'm not a real fan of limiting the parking space, depending on what goes in there.
If I may just mention, and it's in the ordinance that I drafted, actually, which is why I feel like I should speak to it. 14 is the maximum number that would be possible. We don't know who these users will be at this point, so speculating most intensive uses, 14 would be the most that we would need, not necessarily who will be in there. So it could be less.
Yeah, if we were to get a low-volume retail user in there, and we think this is one of the strengths of this building design is that it could very easily be converted to retail use. The developer has indicated to staff that, the only inquiries they've had have been from medical office type users here, given the downturn in the retail economy, but they would hope to have a building that could be converted to retail in the future if the retail market did rebound and could be made available. So it does have very much of a retail look to it. And if we had what we call a low-intensity retail user in there, 9 spaces, I think, would probably be more than enough given the square footage of the building, depending on the type of retail that would go in there. But Trustee Emery is correct that, if you've got 2 medical office users in there, that could amount to a little bit of a shortfall.
How old are the buildings on either side? I know they're not very old.
Mr. Tallent's building, I want to say, is maybe 15, 20 years old, and some of the other ones are of a little bit older generations. One of them is kind of a metal building, which, we certainly wouldn't permit that in the downtown under modern zoning and building rules.
It's an attractive building.
Just a comment. If you had a restaurant go into this location or some other type of a retail business where they wanted to have outdoor seating, this would not permit that. Would it?
I believe it would, Mayor, because we would just have the requirement, you have to leave a 5-foot unimpeded walkway.
Okay.
So you could still do sidewalk cafe with a row of tables in the front of the building, I believe.
So the sidewalk is wide enough at that point to be able to do that?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was concerned about that because they all want to put some kind of little tables out there, and Travelers Cafe does now, and a couple of the other places do, and I'm not a big favor of zero lot lines. I do like the building next door with some green and shrubberies and something nice showing there instead of just all store, but I would prefer it to be set back myself, but that's just my opinion.
I think it's just the way it looks.
Fred, I don't know if it's just the old age or not, I can't remember. So I'm going to ask, see if you can help. When we talked about parking and off-street, we did talk about a fee at some point. Is that, I can't remember where we're at with that or what happened with
Well,
that.
that is an ordinance that was approved
Okay,
by the
it
entire
is.
board, trustee. And in the event that, when the users are subsequently determined, if it is the 14, then they would be short and there would be a fee associated with that shortage and the parking variance. But that's, I guess, to be determined based
Right.
upon the eventual occupancy. But we thought it was kind of interesting and hopefully a positive sign in the economy that we have a developer who is willing to consider a spec building. Those are words that we haven't heard for the past several
Yeah,
years.
it's good to hear. Good to hear.
We were happy to hear it as well.
I'll bet.
Any other questions?
Since we don't have the look of the one that was set back, was it the same size building, it was just pushed back, or did you use the space to make it larger?
It was the same size building. It was simply pushed back into the parking lot.
So you lost parking with that one then, when it's set back?
We did. The lot's narrow, the lot is 60 foot wide, so it's not, very conducive to a fine parking arrangement. We can only get spaces kind of marching down the aisle here, and then we have 2 spaces at the north end of the property.
You're right, trustee Clemenau, that pushing the building back 5 feet might cause them to lose another space or two of parking in the rear, which is not a
Yeah.
desirable thing.
As long as it's the same footprint, that would be the problem. And what would be the square footage of each unit? Approximately, if it was done in half?
1940, approximately.
1940 for each.
Exactly, for each side.
This is going to be sprinkled, or?
Yes.
Oh, that's a... Okay.
Full masonry construction by our local ordinance.
No basement?
No basement, no second floor, simply a single-story building.
Okay.
But we tried to give it the appearance, a taller appearance to the street, so it's not, just a very short building.
Yeah.
We tried to keep it in character with the rest of the buildings on the block.
So does the actual roof, the ceiling go up that high? The height is,
The ceiling will be, yes, it'll be, approximately here, and then the roof will slope to the rear.
So
But
how
there will be a
tall?
parapet wall disguising the rooftop mechanical equipment.
How tall do you think the ceilings will be on the inside?
I think they were 12 feet.
Okay,
yes.
so they're conducive then for retail?
For retail, yes.
Okay.
That was one of the stipulations that the developer put forth.
yeah, it is. I know we have some newer retail space where it has much lower ceilings, and that's one reason why places like that, they're not rent because they want the higher
It's very true.
ceilings.
It's very true. And even things like the tall glass line, that's very important to retailers. So we wanted to establish that right now. I believe the owner, is hoping that this becomes a retail structure. Obviously, you can command greater rent, have a better presence in the area with that, as he, owns and maintains the building.
Okay. Any other questions?
The parking lot in the back, will it have a slight down curve to hold and like a mini retention, or do we even care about that?
There will be. We are
gonna-
working with engineering to get detention resolved. There is going to be slight detention in the parking lot,
Okay.
but you're not going to be over your shoes or anything.
Well, I just didn't want the water going to...
All to the alley.
Yeah.
Correct. correct.
So there will be a way you're going to try to hold some of it to your property.
We're going to hold some of it in the, and we are working hand in hand with engineering to do that.
Thank you.
The site does have to be engineered under modern stormwater ordinances.
So we also are, you know, we have a stormwater drain in the parking lot itself as well. So we'll have some structures in the parking lot. Parking lot itself will hold some water, and then we'll coordinate that into the storm sewer in the alley.
Now, the water main in that area is across the street, or is it on that side? Across the street.
Good point.
So they're going to have
I
to
believe so.
cut across the street to tap in then?
We will.
Okay.
Is there, from the parking lot, is there access to each of the spaces? Because you know, we know of other places, some of them are weird, some of them aren't, where you can, like a doctor's office where you can come in the front door or come in the back door. They have to configure it, you know, like that. Same with a restaurant, you know, front door, back door. But is there, you know, some intended access from the back parking lot?
There is intended access from the back parking lot. It not only serves as our second exit out of the building, but it also, you know, we have handicapped access at both the front and the rear of the building. We have a handicap parking stall in the back, and you can get into either space. So that was very, you know, difficult to figure out the grading and couple that with the detention in the parking lot. Got it done.
And in the parking lot, where will your trash be?
We have a defined trash area. We have it off of the alley. You know, it's a trash enclosure that is going to be in keeping with the building. It'll open directly into the alley as we can keep the services, you know, alley fed, rather than having the garbage truck try and maneuver in and out of the parking.
Okay, so it's going to be towards the back, which will be good.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
And it will be gated and fully enclosed, the dumpsters.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you for coming in. Be on our agenda for Monday evening. Next item.
Thank you.
Thank you. 8.5 North Cass. Board to consider request from Janet Archibald for the development of a used bookstore and gift shop.
Hi, everybody. First of all, thank you for letting me move into 21 North Cass. Circumstances beyond my control, that space didn't work out. 8.5 did, and it is under construction right now. Everybody's welcome to stop by if you want to, where they're scraping wallpaper paste on a daily basis. It's moving along quite nicely. The bookshelves are built, and I ordered the greeting cards yesterday morning.
Very good.
So they will be here next week, so they're done. Other than that, we're pretty much, I mean, it's underway, so I'm hoping that this vote goes the same way the last one did.
Jan, what kind of signage are you going to have?
Haven't gotten that far yet.
Maybe some.
Right now, probably something close to what Tanya has next door, something kind of.
Consistent with.
Right, and eventually I want to be able to make it pop, so I'm going to talk to Jim over at Visitories and find out who did their awning, and possibly go
With an awning.
with the facade, you know, try with the facade grant after the first of the year and put something up, because it is, as small as the space is, it does kind of blend. So we're working on different, I have a friend who stages houses for real estate, who's going to help me come in and stage my front window.
Great.
And do kind of like that, so that I'm gonna get some lighting in there so that it actually, you can see it from the street instead of not knowing it's there, which won't help me.
And when are you opening?
Tentatively, right now, I'm looking at October 5th. That's what everybody in my construction crew keeps telling me is going to happen. I'm saying October 12th because I'm paranoid that it's not going to go as well. We're finding a lot of structural issues within the building as we're pulling off the wallpaper. Extra things that are going to need to be done to be patched and stuff. So we're looking at October 5th.
Great.
So questions?
And this change hasn't been any effect on what you're doing? You've got enough room for the same thing approximately?
Pretty much, we just changed the way that the bookcases are gonna be. We're gonna put some down the center aisle on rollers that can lock so that they're not a hazard of anybody leaning into them and moving them. But other than that, and they may not even be built in time for opening. It depends on how far we get. But the painting has to be done, and that anybody that really likes to take wallpaper paste off is more than welcome to stop by any day. Believe me, I'm getting tired of it. But I think it's a little smaller than what it was, and of course we had to redesign everything inside because it's not 2 rooms, it's only 1 now.
Okay.
But once we took all that dark wallpaper off,
Really opened up, I'll bet.
Mom, once we took the wallpaper off, the room looks 10 times bigger than it did.
The dark made it look small,
Oh, definitely.
besides hiding a lot of secrets.
You wouldn't believe. And we're also cutting down the wall, the wall that cuts off the back of the back half. We're cutting it in half in order to put a counter up.
It's going to be nice.
So, keep my fingers crossed. Like I said, volunteers for, wallpaper paste scrapers are more than welcome any time of the day or night, because I was actually there till 1:30 in the morning the other day. But if there's anything else, any other questions, any?
I'm very glad you were able to find a landlord in our downtown district that was willing to work with you.
We had it settled in 3 days.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
A phone call, a lease, it was signed, the check was handed over, and it was done.
It's great.
That's great. I wish we had a lot of landlords like that.
I mean, it's a little smaller. Like I said,
But it's a
honestly-
lot newer too.
Honestly,
It's a newer building.
looking at that other building, I'm kind of hoping to grow up, by the time that one's built. And then just maybe move down the street.
Nice.
That's the general, and, the intention is to grow out of the space. So.
It's great.
Good.
Well, we wish you the same too. Very good. No, I had no problems.
It's good.
Thank you.
It's good for you.
Thank you. Next item, Fall Harvest Fest. Board to consider approval of the following activities related to the operation of the Pumpkin Harvest Festival on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Number 1, issue a license to use amplified sound for the carnival, October 1st, 3 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., October 2nd, 11 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., and October 3rd, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Number 2, grant a waiver of a liquor license fee for the Knights of Columbus and the Chamber of Commerce. And 3, to grant permission to use West Burlington parking area for carnival staging.
This does feel different. Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to ask for these requests this evening. The Fall Harvest Festival, which was previously known as the Pumpkin Harvest Festival, is a little bit different format this year. We changed the timing a few weeks earlier to hopefully get a little bit more cooperative weather. We've changed the location to allow us to move it inside so we didn't have to worry as much about the weather, and also help cut our expenses related to tent cost and so forth. But I have with me tonight, just so we can give you kind of a brief overview on some of the changes that are going on with the Fall Harvest Festival. I have our chairman, Al Carson, who'd like to say a few words. I also have with us Rick Bath from the Knights of Columbus, who are handling the wine and the beer sales for the weekend. So I'll ask Al Carson to step up for a moment. Thank you.
I'm not used to being up here, so I guess I don't notice the change. Since everybody has to put a shot at the chief tonight, I guess I would be remiss if I didn't do likewise. So. I won't drive in Westmont this next week, so don't worry. I don't need a ticket. Anyways, Mayor, Village Clerk, trustees, Village Manager, again, thank you very much for the opportunity to come before you. Why? Let there be light, huh? It's gone. I am excited about this. It is a little different this year. We have moved the dates up from the latter part of October to October 1st, 2nd, 3rd. It's going to be at Westmont Yards. The times will be on Friday from 4 until 9:30. 10:30, excuse me. On Saturday, it'll be from noon to 10:30. And on Sunday, from noon to 9 p.m. The nice part about it is we're going to have it inside the Westmont Yards. And for those who have attended the first 2 years, you were braver than I thought, because 2 out of the 3 days we had rain. 1 year, the fire chief had to come because he thought the tent was going to blow off the concrete. So we haven't had all the best weather for the event. So by going inside, we're going to be able to offer the food, the refreshment, and the bands. The carnival will be adjacent to at Bellerive Park. And I would like to recognize some of the participants and, of course, the supporting organizations. The Knights of Columbus, Alpine Amusement, Recreation, Presbyterian Church, the Village of Westmont, Westmont Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau, Westmont Jaycees, Westmont Lions, Westmont Park District, Westmont Yards Indoor Sports Complex, and also Clover Garden Center, which has donated 200 pumpkins, which will be used in our pumpkin contest. And again, our hats are off because of the free donation. Something that you're all interested in, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the food that's going to be there. The Lions are going to be able to supply bratwurst, hamburgers, and pork chops on a stick. The Knights of Columbus will be handling the liquor. Uncle Bub's has an Oktoberfest menu, which is consistent of roast pork loin, sauerkraut, and German potato salad. And Bishop's Chili will be offering their chili there. La Petite Sweets will have the desserts. And with Bishop being there, we also will be having a chili contest. And I know the mayor is very interested in the pie eating contest. He has to uphold his championship belt that he's had for the last couple of years. We also will have live entertainment as far as 4 or 5 bands on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I could name some of them, but I think the one you may want to starts out with the Oktoberfest Too Loud Polka. So that will be there also. Because of the economics, I really would like to recognize our sponsors this year, because, as you know, this event cannot be put on without people support financially, as well as participation by other organizations. Cairo One, Westmont Auto Mile, Clarendon Hills Bank, Advocate Good Sam, Burgess Square, Clover Garden, Knights of Columbus, West Suburban Veterinarians, La Petite Suite, Taylor Rental, Westmont Lions, Westmont Park District, Westmont Jaycees, Paws on the Park, Sweet Bay, Westmont Pharmacy, Prestige Liquor, and King Car Wash. That's not all inclusive, but this is a current list as of this evening. For this event to really be successful, we need all of you to come out and participate. And not just come out, but really and truly, like you have in the past, participate in all the activities that we have for you. I thank you for your time.
It's always so much fun.
was going to ask if Rick could come up just for a moment and kind of explain how we're handling the liquor over the course of the weekend, because we know that's always a very important part of this process, and safety is very critical to the success of this event. Rick?
Thank you, Larry. Mr. Mayor, trustees, village manager, thank you. This is our first endeavor doing the alcohol with the village. So I've made some notes. I don't know if you can read them all. Hopefully it will all fit. Wow, that's fancy. We're going to have a similar setup as before with a ticket sales table that'll be out in front. All alcohol will be purchased with the tickets. At the table, all patrons will have their IDs checked. After the IDs have been checked, those of age will be given a wristband, and then they will be allowed to purchase 2 tickets at a limit of 2 per person at a given transaction. It's not for the whole evening. Patrons then will be allowed to redeem tickets for a 16-ounce plastic bottle of beer or a 9-ounce glass of wine. Alcohol would not be allowed out of the building nor off the premises. Signage will be up in place stating that fact as well. I know the chamber has already worked at hiring at least 1 police officer to be present in the beer sales area. And then we will also provide one of our volunteers during all of our shifts who have passed and are certified with the Illinois Bassett program. And then we have already added to our current insurance policy for the event and have placed the Village of Westmont, the chamber, and the Westmont Yard as riders on the policy.
Great.
One
be good.
question that I would have, I'm not sure which one of you would answer it, is how are we going to handle the parking situation for the whole weekend?
We have parking available. We have approximately 140 spots available at Westmont Yards, and we are going to designate that as the primary parking spot. We also have an additional 20 spots available at Bella Reef Park that we plan on using for both handicapped and also vendor parking, kind of a priority parking. So we're going to designate the front parking lot and the side parking lots at Westmont Yard as the primary parking space. We also have some supplemental parking available next door. There's a daycare center there with some parking, and also Harvest Pancake House is allowing us to use their parking facility after they close at, I think it's 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, and they'll be closed Friday evening, and they'll be closed after 2 o'clock on Sunday. So the major crowds will be able to handle there. Now, after that, you know, in terms of any other supplemental parking after that, I guess we've got some park potential on Williams. But we're hoping to be able to handle everything with what we've got available right now. We're not going to allow any parking north of 63rd Street. As a matter of fact, we've worked out a system to put cones at entrances to the AT&T parking lot, to the UPS parking lot, so people will not be tempted to park there and then cross 63rd Street. That is something we want to avoid at all costs.
Okay.
So, but we've been working very closely with the police department to work on these details.
Will we have any signage on 63rd alerting people that they can only park on the south side of the street?
We will have signage out there, and my understanding is that the portable unit was also going to be made available that weekend.
Excellent.
But we're anticipating worst-case scenarios, if you will, and but that is a concern that we've had all along with this, because we do not want people. Safety is number one. And
when we've had it downtown, so many people walked.
True.
Mm-hmm. So now people will be driving, so I can see where it's a concern.
Exactly.
So for purposes of Monday night, we don't need number 3 for permission to use West Burlington? We don't
that's
have to
just for the
vote on
staging.
That's for staging.
For staging it?
For the carnival
rides.
rides that will come in. When the carnival leaves their previous location, they usually move their rides into town that Monday or Tuesday, and they park at a designated location, and then they'll come in Thursday to pick up their equipment and move it into place at Bella Reef Park. That's what happens during the Taste of Westmont. That's what happens during Red, White, and Barbecue. That's the standard operating procedure for the carnival. So we've always tried to find a way that's a location that's out of the way that doesn't interfere. And I believe that's the same location we use for the Red, White, and Barbecue and for the Taste of Westmont this year.
But it's the parking lot that's south of Bella Reef Park where the carnival's going to be. That doesn't work to stage them?
The parking lot that's on the south side of Bella Reef Park is actually where we're going to position the carnival. Mm-hmm. The parking lot that's behind it actually belongs to the DuPage Forest Preserve Golf District, and we unfortunately do not have access to that.
Okay.
Have you talked to them about having access?
Yes, we
there?
have.
And what has their response been?
They are, at this point, not willing to do that. They're concerned about leaving the property open overnight. And that's their primary concern, quite frankly. Everything else they're very fine with in terms of us having access to that road and so forth, not an issue. But the overnight leaving the facility unlocked overnight was their number one concern.
Larry, how many rides will you have for the carnival? Do you know that?
I believe the count is 8.
Okay.
It's going to fit on those 2 east-west strips.
And chamber members will be staffing the ticket booth?
Yes.
Great.
And we will have police officers present at the carnival throughout the weekend.
Okay. Excellent.
So,
All right.
Okay.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
I understand that you said they can't bring the liquor outside the building?
That's
so
correct.
the parents who have to watch their kids cannot bring their beer or wine out there. They have to drink it inside.
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Larry. Next item, Constitution Week, September 17th to 23rd. Board to consider a proclamation designating September 17th to the 23rd, 2010 as Constitution Week for the Downers Grove chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. I'd like to read that if I may. A proclamation declaring September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Whereas September 17th, 2010 marks the 223rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate the occasion. And whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th to the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, William Ron, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the Village of Westmont, along with the Westmont Village Board of Trustees, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution that the framers had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through the guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. Thank you. Any comments on that item? Next item, plumbing inspection services. Board to consider an ordinance authorizing a contract with Mr. Mike Chatta for plumbing inspections services.
Your Honor, Village of Westmont has contracted, I believe, for the past 6 or 7 years with Mr. Bob Chatta, a gentleman who had a pretty good reputation throughout the DuPage County area, performing plumbing inspections for a variety of suburban DuPage communities. Mr. Chatta has recently retired. While he was providing service to us in the contractual capacity, whenever he was ill or on vacation, his son Mike Chatta, who is also a licensed plumber, would very capably fill in for him. Knowing that Mr. Bob Chatta has retired, we felt it would be appropriate to bring back a recommendation for a formal contract arrangement with Mr. Mike Chatta. We did also bid this out and received one other bid from our verbal RFP, and we believe that this is the better of the 2 bids.
Okay. Comments?
I'm assuming that he does carry liability insurance.
Yes, he does.
He does have that, and that's on record with the village?
Yes.
As a contract employee, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Question for you, Fred. He's got, as of July 12, 10, in care of city and suburban plumbing. Now, is this contract's going to be with him individually, no other employees of city and suburban plumbing, nor is our contract with city and suburban
Correct.
plumbing?
That is correct.
So is he doing this outside of,
I believe so, yes.
okay, any problem with the hours that will need him interfering or anything?
None whatsoever. He's mimicking the same hours that we've had that his father provided late afternoon plumbing inspections. And we would make certain that he does not perform any, of course, plumbing work that he would have to inspect within our own corporate limits.
On his fee, is that for residential and commercial?
Yes, ma'am.
So he's been licensed for 20 years but certified for 2?
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, Fred. Next item, automated traffic law enforcement system. Forward to hear a presentation by the police department to provide a 6-month review on the automated traffic enforcement program.
Evening, Mayor. As the board has requested every 6 months, they requested a view of our current red light photo enforcement program. And as soon as the PowerPoint comes up. Nope. There we go. The following statistics are based on activity at Naperville and Cass, which is the only intersection that we have in town. These statistics start March 2nd, 2009, and encompass all the way up until July 31st of 2010. Our officers have viewed a total of 7,844 suspected violations. 2,227, or 28% of those, were approved as violations. However, 5,617, or 72%, were not approved by the officers. Overall, the 7,789 violations, or 99.30%, were right turn on red actions. 32 violations, or 0.41%, proceeded straight through the intersection, and 23 violations, or 0.29%, turned left. Our officers have spent a total of 178 hours and 27 minutes, and this is over the life of the program, reviewing all videos averaging 1 minute and 21 seconds per video. All videos were reviewed by on-duty personnel. There was no overtime involved in viewing any of the violation videos. As you can see by the numbers, a high level of discretion is used when viewing suspected violations. As you saw, we rejected more suspected violations than we have approved. I'll show you now some examples of, as we say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. This is approximately a 2-minute video of violations at Naperville and Cass.
Rain. This car won't make it wet.
Look at this.
Seneca.
Almost.
Talk about
What's
blatant.
going on in West Naperville that's wrong going on? The big rush. Oh, come on.
Holy smokes.
And that was at 6 o'clock in the evening. Again, 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
He'd have killed somebody if they had been in the intersection.
3:30.
It's terrible. Oh, excuse me. Whoa. Oh. Look at that. There was a cop right there. Put the lights on.
Slow down.
They're all going to White Castle before it closes.
I don't know.
Okay. It's called drafting, where you ride the.
Usually that's what we call, no,
Holy smokes.
the ones you saw previously, what we call follow-throughs.
Yeah.
This is 9 o'clock in the morning,
Ego.
and again, 6:09 in the morning.
He's got no brakes.
He thinks it's cruising.
8 o'clock at night, or I'm sorry, 8:45 at night. So as I said, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's approximately 2 videos. Since January 1st through July 31st of just this year only, the village has received $13,652 in fines from this red light photo enforcement program. The approximate cost associated with the administration of this program in that same period is $4,472.70. This is the duties by the officers spent time reviewing the videos, as well as Sergeant Brunza, the administrative officer, overviewing the program and submitting or compiling the data that we have. After cost, the village has realized $1,179.35 from this program just this past 7 months, since January 1st until July 31st. Since the inception of the program, the village has received $73,146. Costs associated with the administration of this program through July 31st are $13,664.12. After costs, the village has realized $59,482.61. There's an outstanding amount of $11,700 due because of late or unpaid violations. Information on accident data. Review of accidents using data from 2008, 2009, and the first 7 months of 2010. In 2008, we had a total of 6 accidents at Naperville and Cass. In 2009, the same number, exact same number, 6 accidents. In the first 7 months of 2010, there was a total of 3 accidents in the Naperville and Cass. Only one of the 3 accidents occurred in the same direction as where the red light camera was. That was southbound Cass approaching the intersection of Naperville Road. We have no indication that that one accident occurred as a result of the presence of the cameras. The one accident that occurred in the same direction, again, the southbound Cass, was caused by following too closely. And since the installation of the red light photo enforcement, we are unaware of any accidents at Cass and Naperville where the cameras played any role in the cause of the accident or caused any driver to overreact to the camera's presence. There was a fear that, or a concern that cars would stop on the yellow, causing rear-end accidents. We have not seen any indication of that. Since the beginning of the program, we've seen a reduction in number of violations. In March 2009, the first month we went live with the program, we approved a total of 263 violations. In July 2010, this summer, we approved a total of 108 violations. A reduction in number of suspected and approved violations is an indicator that the enforcement program is effective in changing drivers' habits, not only to our residents, but to visitors to our area. I wanted to update the board on some new changes in the automated traffic law. They'll go into effect January 1st of 2011. Senate Bill 0935 was signed into law by Governor Quinn on July 9th, 2010. Senate Bill now requires a municipality or county utilizing an automated traffic law enforcement system to do the following. The video of a suspected violation must be reviewed by a law enforcement officer. We are in compliance. All our videos currently are viewed by a patrol officer or by Sergeant Brunza. No additional fees shall be charged to the alleged violator for exercising his or her right to an administrative hearing. We had the option of doing that at the beginning of our program. We opted not to do that and never have since our program started, so we again are in compliance with this requirement. After an administrative hearing where a person is found to have committed a violation, the person shall be given 25 days to pay the civil penalty. Again, we offer that now, so again, we're in compliance even before the law goes into effect. A recorded image of violation must be available for access to the alleged violator by providing the alleged violator with a website address accessible through the internet. We currently do that now, and we exceed that in the fact that if a person does not have access to the internet, there are some residents that just don't have that. Rather than sending them and trying to get access to the internet, we invite them to the police department where an officer will sit down, access their violation video for them, and review it with them and answer any questions they may have. Again, we are in compliance with that requirement of the law. We're not going to be able to allow the system to use violations, we cannot use the system to issue violations in instances where the motor vehicle comes to a complete stop and does not enter the intersection during the cycle of the red signal indication unless one or more pedestrians are present, even if the motor vehicle stops at a point past the stop line or crosswalk where a driver is required to stop. And again, we are in compliance with that. Our officers, when they set the standard, when they go through this program, just as long as the vehicle comes to a complete stop before it enters the intersection, whether that be before or after the white line, we are not saying if you stop after the white line, it's a violation. All we require is that you come to a complete stop before entering the intersection. So again, we are in compliance with this even before the law goes into effect. A community with one or more intersections equipped with automated traffic law enforcement system must provide notice to drivers by posting the locations on the system of our website. Even though we only have one intersection, we will make this information available on our website. I'm not 100% sure if we do or not. I believe we have had information. We've publicly announced where this intersection is at, and we will endeavor and make sure that we are in compliance before January 1st. The yellow change interval must conform with the Illinois Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices published by the Illinois Department of Transportation. Basically, the cycle that it takes for the yellow between the green and the red must be a certain length. I checked with Director May this morning, and we are in compliance with that intersection already. And then we must make a certified report to the Secretary of State in case someone has had 5 or more violations where they are late or have not paid their fines. We will notify the Secretary of State, and those licenses can be suspended. The law is going to require us that we conduct a statistical analysis to assess the safety impact of each automated traffic law enforcement system at an intersection following the installation of the system. It provides further details about the study. We'll be conducting analysis for the first 36-month period, and then if there's no reduction or the rate of accidents at the approach intersection, we shall undertake any additional studies to determine the cause and severity of the accidents, and may take action deemed necessary or appropriate to reduce the number or severity of the accidents at that intersection. One thing I also want to note about, too, I'll be working with our village attorney and Anne Marie coming before the board, the next board meeting. With these new changes in the law, we are going to have to change our ordinance, and so we're going to be making the correct changes and putting that before the board for your consideration at the next board meeting, but not Monday. That'll be the September 30th committee of the whole meeting. The future of the red light photo enforcement in Westmont, based on the information collected during surveys, we had our red light vendor conduct 3 surveys this past year at the intersections of Cass and Ogden to see if it was enough for violations. All 3 surveys reported that they did not see enough violations to justify the installations of the cameras, so we will no longer be moving forward with installing the cameras at that intersection. However, we are moving forward with our petition to the state to install photo enforcement cameras at the off-ramp from southbound Illinois Route 83 at Ogden Avenue. And with that, answer any questions the board or the public may have.
Were we also looking at 63rd and Cass?
We're looking at 63rd and Cass, but that is still controlled by DuPage County. DuPage County is in the process of looking at this. They are looking at one of 2 ways, and there haven't been any recent meetings that I'm aware of, but the last we heard, they're looking at either a licensed fee, some type of fee where they would charge you annually, or they would take a percentage of the violations that you have. They're still, and there's been no formal talks on that, but I will keep the board apprised on that. After this Senate bill was passed, it's my information, the county is again looking at the issue.
Did that intersection qualify? You said Cass and Ogden didn't. Did that one qualify with the data?
We haven't done any surveys yet because we're not allowed to put any cameras up there. So rather than having our vendor come and do a survey, they only do it only in intersections that we seem viable or wish to install a camera at.
Chief, have you looked at Cass and 59th near Marker? I know Trustee Emery and I both live in that area, and we see a lot at that intersection.
I will defer. I'm not sure. At Naperville and Cass, it's village-owned poles and village-owned equipment intersections, so it's easy for us to install the equipment. I will defer to.
No, the question was if we've considered a red light camera at 59th and Cass.
We haven't.
Could we?
If it's a county-controlled highway, again, if it's it's county equipment, the light poles, standards and everything, they're not going to allow us to install anything on their right-of-way, nor anything on the signage that we have to install. The county's not going to allow us until they have some procedure in place. So if it's a county highway, we wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, the county had to paint over the graffiti at that intersection.
Yes.
That's right. I remember now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Next item, finance ordinance number 10.
Waive the reading.
Request to waive the reading. Purchase orders. Any questions on purchase orders? Nope. Hearing none. Unless there's something else to come before the board at this time, I would request a motion to go into executive session regarding personnel.
Mayor, it looks
Yes.
like we all received a request for board action from Chief Trout regarding the lifting of a hiring freeze. And I don't believe that was mentioned earlier, that was going to be placed on the agenda for next Monday.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Roll call on the executive session.
Trustee Emery?
Yes.
Trustee Forsley?
Yes.
Trustee Seneca?
Yes.
Trustee Fleming?
Yes.
Trustee Klebanow?
Yes.
Thank you. We are adjourned to executive session.